Hello, good afternoon, guys, and welcome to Ye Education, everyone here. As you have been knowing that we have several courses for which we will be giving scholarships to, and I'll be taking Python. So let me introduce myself. I am Rahul Bordole, and I'm a fourth year student on KIT University. And post my graduation, I'll be joining Higher Technology as a data scientist. And that's my introduction. And yeah, talking about which I'll be taking the Python classes, and there are four mentors, and I'm one of them. And yeah, so this is basically a demo class sort of. So it will be interactive one, and I'll go through what we will be teaching as a team, and what you will be getting after the course, the outcomes, and the fun fact behind Python. And if you guys have any doubts, you can just unmute yourself and can ask me anytime, or you can just pin it in the chat box and I'll check it out. So yeah, let's get started. Um, can you confirm if my screen has changed? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So yeah, wait a second. Yeah, welcome to the demo class of our Python course. So firstly, I'll talk a bit about Python. Then I'll talk about why Python is different from other languages. Then I'll talk how to use Python. Then I'll talk about like why are we teaching Python and what will be the outcome when you finish the course, and what are your career opportunities after learning this course, and yeah, whatnot. So it will be roller coaster ride. So yeah, let's get started. So about Python. So Python is an interpreted high level. Let me tell you one thing. I'll be going through some high level words or stuff. Don't get worried. If you have any doubt, you can just ask me. And it's not necessary to know everything at the first. I'm just giving a brief introduction. So if you have any doubt, you can surely ask me. And it's don't get worried if you come across such heavy words. Yeah. So about Python. So basically, Python is an interpreted high-level general-purpose language, programming language. Everybody knows that high level because you don't have to know about the detailed architecture and how it works like other languages. Just you need to use it. Yeah, and it was created by Guido van Rossum in 1989, and there are the version releases of Python. And as you know, Python is now a second most popular language in this planet, according to a survey by Stack Overflow. So yeah, and Python has a lot number of wide users. So you can literally use anywhere where involvement of any programming language is concerned. And yeah, just as a note, we'll be using only Python 3.6 plus in our course. So everything we do from our hands-on to projects to teaching and everything, we'll be using the versions of Python which is more than 3.6. It can be 3.7, it can be 3.8. It'll depend upon the situation on which we will be doing so. So yeah, what is Python? Python is a multi-purpose language. You can use it to create apps. You can use it to create websites. You can use it as a programming language as well. And it's an interpreted language. That is, the program is compiled line by line. It's a multi-platform programming language. You can use it like anywhere, Mac, Linux, or Android, anywhere. And multi-paradigm programming language, and it's complex term. Just let me give you a brief of what it is. Suppose you want to add a number, so obviously you won't be writing the a plus b every time. So there are modules and packages in Python which you can reiterate, and you can save your energy as well. So that's just a glimpse of what multi-paradigm is. A strongly type and dynamically type. So what it means, basically you don't have to initialize it like it is an integer, it is a string. The Python interpreter will just understand it by itself what you are just putting it there. So it's a very powerful language because suppose you have used a variable, so let's say variable my name. So you have suppose initialized it with my name is equal to Rahul. All right. then you have used it, and after the uses, suppose you are now initializing as my name is equal to 4, which is not possible in any other languages, but it is possible in Python. And yeah, and the most important thing about Python is it's free and open source. So even if you think that there's a lack in functionality in Python, you can add that functionality to the Python foundation by yourself. So there is no thing as such that you must be a recognized developer or you must be an employee of a particular organization in order to like contribute to what Python is currently now. And yeah, why Python? So as I said, Python is a high level programming language. So you don't have to go into the real depth to know what the language really is. Suppose you are programming any languages, suppose let's say Java or C or C++, then you must know what preprocessors are, then you must know what the role of main function is, and like there are many stuff which you must be knowing from before in order to work with such languages. But that is not the case with Python. Like you can even do the same thing in like just one line, in which you will be doing the same for like 4 to 5 lines in other languages. Yeah, that's the second point. You don't need to know about its architecture to code. And thirdly, was the function most favorite part of Python is it is very simple to learn. Like suppose if you start learning Python in like day one, then you will be master in like a month. Like I really bet you will be a master of Python if you like work hard and like code in Python for even a month, because the libraries are so simple and they are so flexible, and so like everything is just given in the document itself. You don't have to like go and search or research by yourself or for anything as such. And yeah, it's an English as language. Other languages they use terms like cout, println, which is very complex to understand just for a newbie or a beginner. In Python, if you want to type if you want to find, suppose you sorry, if you want to type print a sentence or print a string or print a number, you just have to write print. Or suppose if you want to find sum of a number, you just write sum. So things like that, it's much analogous to English. So yeah, it's not that difficult. And yeah, the uses of Python. So you can literally use Python from data science to development to scripting to scraping to testing, like anywhere. Python has so wide uses that you can even run a full-fledged company with hundreds of departments only with one language, that is Python. But that is not possible with any other language as such currently as of now. And yeah, packages and methods everywhere and for everything. Like you have packages for data science. Suppose you want to build a chatbot, so you have packages for chatbot. And suppose you want to design a web page, there are packages for web pages. So you don't have to do anything from scratch. Everything is there from before. Just you need to know what are the things that I must be knowing. Sorry, I must know to do so. And yeah, in that way you can like literally do anything with Python. And the most important part about why learning Python is so good and efficient is the community support. Like, let me give you an example. Suppose you are working on a web development project using JavaScript and React.js, let's suppose. So if you search for an error in, as we know, Stack Overflow, it contains all the kinds of error. Like it's a community platform where we like majority of our learnings are done from there only. So like if you search and for an like unique error in Stack Overflow or for any problem for JavaScript or React, then there is a possibility that you might not find the answer for it, or like in any blogs or web pages. But such is not the case for Python. Even if you find a very peculiar or very unique error or any help for Python, then you will even find blogs for that. You will find Stack Overflow support and whatnot. And yeah, and of course to include all the points from the previous slide. And yeah, guys, if you have anything to ask, you can just ask in the chat or like unmute yourself. There is no problem as such. It is not tedious that I'll finish the PPT, then only you will be guys speaking. Yeah, so why Python? So yeah, so I suppose everyone is from computer science background or like from at least from engineering background, and you must be knowing what a pseudocode is. Like it's not necessary that you must be from an engineering background or technical background. You can be from arts background, you can be from commerce background, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so what is a pseudocode basically? I'll just explain you in a brief. Pseudocode is basically such that suppose you have a array. Okay, So don't get worried if you don't know the meaning of array. We'll be taking that term later on. So basically, what array does is, suppose let me give an example. Suppose in a class there are 5 students. All right. So every student must be having some marks in a test. Suppose I am the teacher and I have 5 students in my class. So I have taken a class test in computer science. So I'll be storing the number somewhere, right? So suppose for student A, the score out of 30 is 15. For student B, it's 29, and so on. So instead of keeping the variables here and there, I'll be keeping them in a continuous manner so that I can access them easily. Suppose I want to know the value, the marks of roll number 3, suppose. So firstly I'll search out where is roll number 1, then I'll find out roll number 3. But suppose I keep roll number 1 here, roll number 2 there, so it will be a complete chaos, and like the time to execute it, time to do the thing will be a very big burden. So yeah, that's array. So suppose I want to find the total sum of all the marks of all the students. So what I'll do, I'll iterate from uh, roll number 1 to roll number 5, right? So marks of roll number 1 plus marks of roll number 2, marks of roll number 3. So that's the process, right? You will be adding marks of everyone. So when you write that in like a code form, not like typical code form, just in a code that how you'll approach, then it is called a pseudocode. So what happens is in Python, everything seems like a pseudocode, but that's not possible in cases of other languages. So that's where Python beats of other languages. So Python, the runtime might be slower than other languages, but if you just compare the overall time, then Python is much faster because it takes you less time and very less effort to do the same thing in which you will be doing in other languages as well. Yeah, so that's the best example I want to give you, syntax difference between popular languages and versus Python for the same task. So we know that every programmer or like anybody who is interested in programming, his first program will be write how to output hello world in the console. So this is the case for Python. So it is just one line code. As I said, it is analogous to English. So print hello world. That's it, nothing else. You don't have to remember anything. You don't have to do anything. Just print hello world, where hello world is a string. Now this is the case of C++. So what C++ does, this is slash include bits std/h. So this is basically preprocessor. Then you have to define namespace. Then basically, as I said, in order to just write simple print out hello world in C++, you must be knowing line number 1, 2, 3, 5, and yeah, and so on. So basically, you have to know that what they do, how they work, and how you will use them efficiently. Otherwise, then it will create an error if you don't do so. Same is the case with Java. So just as a comparison, just see that to do the same tasks, that how much effort you are putting in Python, how much effort you are putting in C++, and how much effort you are putting in Java. So obviously, you at least by now you must be knowing that the amount of time and effort in Python is very less as compared to other languages. So yeah, so Python be like, I don't like to complicate things, man. So Python, I am easier, and I don't worry, we'll start with Python. So yeah, that's the thing about Python. So now I'll give you some examples which differentiate Python from other programming languages and why you should pursue your career, or like you should pursue your developmental goals, or like any goal you want using Python. So yeah, syntax. So if I talk about syntax, use of indentation. So just let me take the reference of the previous slide. So just observe the sentence. It's just a print bracket hello world, where print is a function and hello is a string. Now observe here that in line number 2 of test.cpp, cpp is an extension for C++ file. So you are putting a semicolon here. You're also putting a semicolon here. So same is the case with Java. You are putting a semicolon in line number 3. So what semicolon means in other programming languages, it is the end of the line. But you don't have to like explicitly write that end of the line in Python. So if you just write print hello world here and write print like say hello Rahul, then it will treat the Python interpreter will treat both of them as a different like separate line. but that's not the case of C++, Java, or any other programming languages, because it will throw an error if you like don't put the semicolon. So semicolon is very important in case of other languages. Sorry, I missed the slide. Okay, yeah. So semicolons have almost no use in Python. So yeah, that's the thing. And using also note one thing. And even if you use semicolon after like print hello world, it will not throw any error. But always remember why Python was developed, to like ease our labor and our time. So even if you use it, it won't show any error or warning, but it's not advisable to use it. So the use of semicolon is not considered as Pythonic. So what's Pythonic? It's short and effective way of doing the same task in a short period of time with less labor as compared to other languages. Yeah, and that's the thing. You can use semicolon in Python, but that will be used to separate two commas in a single line. So let's suppose print hello world, and I put a semicolon here, and I put another, like suppose print say hello. Then the Python interpreter will treat print hello world and the other sentence as different statements being on the same line. So yeah, that's the thing about using semicolons. So yeah, when somebody uses semicolons in Python, we don't do that here. That's the thing. And yeah, now the use of indentation. That's a very important and integral part of Python. So Python uses indentation to define a block, and the amount of indentation is up to me, but it must be consistent throughout that block. Don't worry, these words might be complex at the beginning, but in the hands-on session I will surely give you an example that what exactly is indentation and how it is very vital in the case of Python or Python programming language. So let's take the example of this question. So even I'm let's see in the case of line number 3. So I'm using curly braces here, like for the function for this part, for the line number 4 to be a part of the function 3, and same is the case of Java. But I have not written the example here, but I'll surely show you. But in the case of Python, even if you are writing a for loop or like any loop or any function, you will be using indentation. You don't have to use the curly braces that I'm using here. So it will be completely based on the indentation, and the amount of space and the amount of indentation you are giving, it must be consistent for that particular block. Yeah, and now yeah, Python is dynamically typed. So that's the thing that I want to focus more on. So yeah, in Python, variables are a storage placeholders for text and numbers. Python is dynamically typed, which means you don't have to declare what type each variable is. So as I said, suppose you are initializing a variable, like initializing means storing a value in a particular variable. So let's suppose you are putting x is equal to 1, 2, 3, which is an integer. As we all know that 1, 2, 3 is an integer, and x equal to 1, 2, 3 l, it's a long integer. So don't worry if you don't know about long integer. It's a similar version of integer but with much precision, and same is the case with double. So just let me give you an example for integer and string, as it is very much familiar with you. So suppose I'm using x equal to 1, 2, 3 in a particular line of code in my program. So if I print out x, like print x is equal to, sorry, not print x equal to, print x, just x. So it will give me an output of 1, 2, 3. You don't have to implicitly define that what is the type, like type of the variable of x, which is very much compulsory for the case of other programming languages. So yeah, so basically integer, 1, 2, 3 is an integer. So when you are printing out this x, it will give you an integer. But the same variable in the same program itself, when you are like just hold on, yeah, when you are using it in the case of string. So suppose after the use of this variable, you are now initializing the same variable with hello. So what Python will do, it will change the data type of x to the data type of this x. So it will be changed from integer to string, which is possible only in the case of Python. But if you use in any other languages, that's not possible, and it will throw you an error that change of data type is not possible, because in other programming languages, the only one type of data type is allowed for the whole program. So basically, as you can see here, that for the same variable, you can store an integer, you can store a long type variable, you can store a double type variable, you can store string, you can store a list. List is basically an array in Python. You can store a tuple. I'll be going to later what is a tuple, and of course a file. Because okay, so what's a file? So let's suppose you have a text file, you have a binary file. Suppose you have a text file where you have written a poem, so you want to read that using Python and use it for some other purposes like publishing in the net or like taking it out for your web page. So that's where file handling comes handy in Python and like any other place. So yeah, so using the same variable type in the same program, you can just do all the operations that are given here. So that's the specialty of Python, and yeah, and that is called, and the phenomenon is also known as dynamically typed. So going to the next slide. Yeah, multiple variable assignment. So as you know, as you guys may be knowing what variable is by now. So it's very so let's draw a connection with mathematics. So very in mathematics, what does variable do? Let's suppose we have written as x equal to 3. So x is storing the value for 3, right? So same is the case for any other programming languages or Python in my case now. So suppose you want to assign a variable, like you want to swap change the value of a variable. Like suppose I am given a question, you have x equal to 3 and y equal to 4. Suppose I want to swap the values between all the two variables. So what will my answer? That my y is equal to 4 and x equal to 3, as it has reversed. So in order to do the same in like C plus sorry in C++ or like any other programming language, firstly you have to like A is equal to A plus B, then B is equal to A minus B, and A is equal to A minus B. Like you have to do all the tedious stuff, which is very tiring, and like even if it is a very big program, then it must be like very complicated to do such small things even. So in Python, it's just simple. A comma B is equal to B comma A. That is, the value of B will be getting shifted to value of A, and the value of A will be getting shifted to value of B, which is a specialty of Python, which is not possible in any other programming language. So like, yeah, any variable being used must already be assigned. Like, yeah, so you just can't put any random variable for the swapping. It must be assigned from before, as I said, for the case of x equal to 3 and y is equal to 4. And yeah, multiple variable can be assigned with only just one statement and one symbol, that is equal to. That is the assignment operator in programming. So yeah, so going to the next slide, what is a list? As I said about the example of like class test where I have 5 students and I have stored the 5 marks of 5 students in an array. So array and list is like, it is used like interchangeably in Python. So even if you come across array in any other programming language, that will mean the same as list in Python. So yeah, so this is an empty list. So I'll be showing you that what are the kind of list we can have in Python. So a Python can have an empty list. A Python can have a list of integers. Python can have a list of strings. Python can have list of mixed data, which is not possible in other languages, because in as I said, even like array is a variable, right? So as I said, if you have declared a variable as int, like integer, or a double float type, or a string type in any other programming language, like it must be consistent throughout the data type. But it is not the case of Python. So in Python, what it does is like Rahul, it's my name, 22, it's my age, and Baudelaire. So as you can see here, Rahul is a string, 22 is a number, and Baudelaire is also a string. So this functionality is not present in any other programming language. That is, you can just put different types of data types in the same variable. And yeah, and this is the case of a nested list. So this is let me count 1 2 3 4 5. It's a 5D list. So you can store 5D data in a single list, and it's nested. So you don't have to worry about, sorry, you don't have to worry about the number of columns. You don't have to worry about the number of rows. Just you can use it any way you want. That's the flexibility of Python. You can like literally use it any way you want, and like anyhow, like it'll give you the desired output as you want. And yeah, now the last point. Python comes in handy with plenty of inbuilt functions for operations for which you don't even need to import any library packages as such. Example, sum and max. So let me give an example. So in the case of C++ or Java or like any other programming language, and suppose you want to find the, like as I said, key sum of an array, right? So sorry for using array. Like list and array, they are used interchangeably in Python in other programming language. So don't get confused as of now. So yeah, so you want to find the sum of an array, right? So you have to import the library for sum, then you have to find the sum of an array. So basically, as I'm saying, it is two line, like, right? So two lines just to find the sum of an array, but that's not the case of Python. You don't have to literally import anything. Directly you can just use sum to find the sum of the array, max to find the max element out of all the elements. So that's the specialty of Python. You don't need to import libraries or like built-in functions for commonly used operations. So going on to the next slide. So yeah, that's string in Python. So yeah, that's you versus the guys he tells you not to worry about. Lol, jokes apart. So basically, if I tell you what is this, so this program is basically to like find a palindrome of a string. So what's a talking about what's palindrome. So palindrome is an string that is in reverse. So suppose if I take this example, ki hello world exclamatory mark. So the palindrome of it will be its mirror image. So the resultant word should be exclamatory mark DLROW space OLLEH. That's a palindrome. So in Python, it's just two line of code. You just initialize the variable with a string, then just use slicing to find out the palindrome. So I'll be explaining you later what is slicing. Don't get worried now, as I said. And yeah, and this is the case of Java. So basically, to do the same thing, that is find the mirror image of this string, you are just using two of Python. But in case of Java, it is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 lines of code just to do the same thing. And there's only the class function. There will be import libraries and all other stuffs. So yeah, that's why Python is so useful and Python is so powerful in doing things like that. And now, yeah, pickling the data structures. You can even save and export your data structures to any other files or environment as such. So let me give you an example. Suppose you have the data set of your school, right? So in the data set of your school, let me give you an example. Like in your data set, all the information of students are given, like a name, roll number, section, batch, gender, and stuff like that. So it is a very huge data set. And suppose you have worked on the data sets and you have done some modifications, right? So what you can do, you can export the whole data structure. That suppose you guys might be knowing about data structures, that is array, linked list, trees, graphs, and stuff like that. So you can even pickle the whole data structure and can use it anywhere in any environment. Like suppose I pickled my data frame, like like the data set I was talking about in Python. You can use the same pickle data frame in Java, in C++, or any other languages. Of course, that will require special libraries in that other languages, but such is not the case of Python. So you can even import the data structure you are using in Python to any other programming language. So that's the most powerful part and flexibility of. So yeah, now talking about where Python is being used. So these are like the top companies where Python are used. Of course, there are a million companies which are using Python extensively or like completely. So our well-known music app Spotify, it's built on Python. YouTube, it uses Python. So Facebook, it uses Python. Mozilla, Quora, NASA, Google, IBM, Netflix, Dropbox, everyone using Python. So I'll give you an example where Python is widely used, but I'll give it in a later part. Yeah, now talking about Python tools and IDEs. So basically, what is an IDE? It's an integrated development environment. So basically, if you like design a code in an editor, code editor, then you have to compile the file or like interpret the file and run it by yourself. You don't have to worry the same in the case of IDE because that will help you to do the same. And of course, like let me give an example. Suppose you are texting a message to someone in WhatsApp. So when we type, we have predictions of word, right? So that's a gift of Python. That's word predictor. And obviously, same is the case in case of when you are coding a program. Suppose you are writing a program where you have forgotten a very peculiar kind of code. So when you are typing, as word suggestion comes in your screen in mobile, same will come in the case of IDE. So that's why IDEs are widely used, and there are also a wide uses and advantages of IDE. I'll be going to that on a later part. So yeah. So Python file, yeah, Python file will be having a .py extension, and some files might be having .pyc, which is Python. So basically, Python is built on C language. So C is a low-level language, and Python is a high-level language. That's why Python is considered as a high-level language, not a low-level language. But that's not the sole reason. But there are some other reasons as well. But I'll not be taking account of those reasons in this particular session. So yeah. The extension format of a Python file is .py, and you can just run it using your command prompt, that is your CMD, or you can use any Python IDE, that is integrated development environment. That is, for example, you can use PyCharm, you can use Pyder, and things like that. Or you have Anaconda. I'll be talking about Anaconda in a later part. Don't just get scared by what's Anaconda. Everything is Python is like literally name of the animals, pandas, Anaconda, even the name itself, Python. Yeah. So Jupyter. So Jupyter is basically an interactive notebook environment, which is an extension of Anaconda. I'll be also taking account to it on a later part. So going on to the next slide, command prompt. So in order to run a Python file, so just let me give you an example of, hold on. Suppose you want to execute this file, right? Because after the coding is over, you need to execute it, right, to get the desired output. So to like the name of this file is test.py. So in order to run this file in your computer, so you have to write just py test.py, and it will give you the output of the same hello world. That was not the case of Palindrome. I've considered another file, but yeah, same is the thing here. So this is a case of Windows, and commands might vary a little from Mac to Linux. Just you need to write py3 in case you're using, if you are a Mac user or a Linux user. So that's running a Python file from command prompt. So now Python IDE, I'll be taking example of PyCharm here. It is the mostly and widely used Python IDE in the whole world. So this is the overview of PyCharm, which is the IDE. It's an integrated development environment, as I said, IDE. And you can do code analysis and debugging and unit testing all in the IDE itself. You don't have to write separate codes for unit testing. You don't have to write separate codes for debugging, and also you don't have to write any separate codes for code analysis as well. So even if you come across an error, or even if you come across a warning, everything will be displayed by the IDE itself, and also it will suggest you that make these changes which will make your code more efficient and better. And version control system, which is very much important if you are pursuing something in software engineering or a group project, because suppose you are suppose you are working on a very big project, right? So what version control will do, it will like create versions where your status is, where the status of other people is. I'll not go into version control in detail, you can just Google it yourself. But yeah, version control is very much important if you are considering the case of software engineering and all other stuff. Now Anaconda. So basically Anaconda is an environment, or you can say it's a group of packages which will help you to do your Python work. So basically Anaconda, it's an open source distribution of Python and R packages. It's being used by 13 million users. It includes over 14,000 popular packages. It's widely used for data science and related works. And Anaconda Python is faster than vanilla Python. So what's vanilla Python is the regular Python. Anaconda Python is faster than vanilla Python. So here's the like layout of the Anaconda navigator, and it has several apps like Anaconda Prompt, then Jupyter Lab, then Spider and whatnot. So basically, if you want to pursue a career in data science, or like if you want to pursue a career in using Python programming, then most of the companies, or topmost companies, uses Anaconda as the environment where they do all the stuff in here. And always remember, everything in Python, from data science to development to unit testing to like everything, it's or everything is open source. So suppose you are using the sum library, sorry, sum function. So suppose the sum function is not working for a particular case. So what you can do, you can just go to the GitHub, or like you can go to the PyPy directory, and you can import, you can push your changes, and after your changes have been approved by the author, it will be completely available to everyone in this whole world. So that's the beauty of Python. You can like contribute, you can modify, you can update, like you can literally do anything. So yeah, the world of Python is very vast, and it's ever growing, and it's the fastest growing language in the whole world. So Jupyter. So basically, if you want to pursue your career in data science mainly, so it's not limited to data science, but most of the data scientists use Jupyter IDE to work on the stuff. So basically, it's a web-based interactive computing notebook environment. We can run and edit human editable docs while describing data analytics. So basically, as I said, let's talk about an example of, let's give you a simple example. Let's suppose you're a data scientist, and I've given you a data set to find out why people of a particular company are leaving them. So there can be various reasons, right? Their salary might be paid very low, or they are not happy with their job profile, or they are not happy with the job location, or like they are not happy with the behavior of the senior. So everything, the rating, the location, the all the things will be given in a data frame or a data set, right? So as a data scientist, you need to find out the insights from the given data frame, and you need to present it to the manager that these are the reasons why people from your company are leaving. If you improve in these stuffs, then the amount of people leaving your company will be decreased. So in order to do so, if you do in the case of an IDE or in the case of an editor, then you need to compile the whole code. You just can't like part by part interpret it, but that's possible in the case of Jupyter Notebook. So in Jupyter, suppose I have written hello print, print hello world, right? So it will give me the output hello world. But suppose in the same program itself, I want to like write the sum of two numbers. So x equal to 7, y is equal to 8, x plus y, comma 10. So what will do? It will give me the output of x plus y is equal to 15 and 10 as just a random variable. So in the same way, you can do all your work, right? You can do all your work from data analysis to let me give you an example. So suppose you are already presenting the results why people are leaving for a particular company to the manager, but let's suppose you want to present him in the form of presentation. So in order to from a presentation, you need to like do all the reading and stuffs and then copy paste the insights, and it's a very tedious work. So if you do the same Jupyter notebook, then you can even present him the Jupyter notebook as well, because it's so presentable. So he will completely understand what you're doing because it's human readable. You don't need to like be expert in Python, or you don't need to be expert in data analytics to like understand what I am doing here. So let's suppose all of you guys have no idea of what programming is or what how programming works. So if I show you this notebook and just tell me what you are understanding from this code snippet. So firstly, you will tell me that it's print hello world. So the output is print hello world, and you are just summing up two numbers after storing two variables. So it's easy, right? So you don't need to like do any complex stuff if you are doing the things in Jupyter. And suppose you want to debug a thing. Suppose you are writing. Suppose you have an array, right? And there are very mixtures of numbers, and you need to find out that which of the numbers are even. So you can directly do the operations and can find out which are the even numbers and which are the odd numbers in different cells. It's not necessary that you need to write separate code for odd and even. You can just do it in the same cell or in different cell itself. It completely depends on how you use it. So yeah, that's all about Python. That's the brief introduction of Python. And yeah, now I'll be talking about our Python course and what we'll be offering in our course, what you'll be achieving after completing our course, and yeah, and things like that. So yeah, so we have divided the complete Python syllabus into two parts. One is Python basics and one is Python advanced. So if you have completed Python basics, then you will be prompt to do the Python advanced course. Because if you don't have the basic preliminary knowledge in Python basics, then you will find difficult to cope up with Python advanced. So yeah, what we'll be teaching in Python advanced. So basically introduction to Python and Python strings. I have just given you an example of hello world, but it's much more than hello world. So yeah, into Python strings, conditional operator in Python. It's a very vast topic. Basic data structure in Python. It's not like limited to competitive programming or such. Like the basic data structures which will be necessary by you in every step of your life when you are using Python, like dictionaries or like list or like any other data structures which are very commonly used in Python and will be helpful for you even if you are like pursuing your career as a developer, as a data scientist, or as a system tester or anything. Then functions in Python. So function in Pythons are similar to what that of other programming languages, but they are different in their own aspect. And then built-in functions in Python, as I just said, in order to find the sum of an array or a list in Python, you don't need to import in the libraries as such. It's already built in Python, and you just directly need to use it. Then built-in modules and error handling in Python. So built-in modules they have a very rich library of modules. Like suppose for data science, the types of module are different. For web development, the types of modules are different. For error handling and stuff, all the things, there are different modules which will facilitate your work and will like lower your labor level. Here, generators and decorators in Python, it's a bit complicated topic. I'll not explain now because you'll be getting confused by now if I say so. So yeah, let's keep it for now. Just remember that generator and decorators are used to like, even if you want to like generate a number, sorry, if you want to generate a array out of some particular conditions, then you can use generator and things like that. And then the most important part in development or like any other aspects, if you are like learning a programming language, that is object oriented programming, obviously in Python. So talking about object-oriented programming, so let me give you an example. So for just now, just go through my words, and you can ask me doubt for any point you want. So let's suppose, consider your whole school as a class, right? And not that class, not class 7, class 8, just programming class. So considering the school as a class, so in school there can be teachers, there can be students, there can be other employees as well, right? So every other object, like teacher is an object. So because what's an object now? So object is an entity which can be like derived from a real world entity. Let's suppose teacher, it's a real world entity. Students, it's a real world entity, and we all are having different characteristics. So in teacher, the details can be name of the teacher, teacher's employment ID, teacher's salary. In case of student, it can be my name, my roll number, my class, my section, and whatnot, right? So if you are writing, sorry, if you're designing a software for like school management system, then to store similar kind of variables, to store, sorry, not variables, to store similar kind of data, you will be using the same type of variables, right? So suppose there are 100 students in the school, and suppose you want to store the name of every 100 student. So you won't be using 100 variables, right? 100 variable names, because if the as the number of program length increases, the maintainability and error handling part also increases, because it's very difficult to debug a program which is having more than 1,000 lines of program, because you will be tired, or like it is very difficult to like debug a very big program. So that's where object-oriented programming comes in handy, because you will be treating every entity like I am a student, my name is Rahul, you will be treating me as an object. Also you'll be treating, let's say, Amir. Amir is a boy, so you'll be treating him as an object as well. So you'll be using the same type of variable, but it will mean different for me and for him as well. But we are all under a single common entity, that is school. So that's the like general overview of what object oriented programming is. So yeah, that's all about the syllabus and course handle for Python basics. So now talking about what we'll be teaching in Python advanced course. So as I said, Python has a very wide number of uses. You can use it from development to data science to web testing, sorry, web scraping, web testing, and whatnot. So firstly, we'll be going with data visualization in Python. Then basics of OpenCV. Don't get worried what's OpenCV. It's a very big word, like nothing like that. So let me give an example. When you switch on your camera, your mobile camera, or like when you switch on Instagram. So when you switch on your camera, you see a box around your face, right? A beautiful box of any color that your face is getting detected. Or like even if you post a picture in Facebook automatically what it does, it detects the faces and draws bounding box in order to tag other people. So that's where OpenCV is used. OpenCV is used to like detect objects. It's not limited to face. It can detect any object using OpenCV. So that's the beautiful use of OpenCV in a very brief way. Searching the internet, like you don't need to serve Wikipedia, you don't need to serve Google or like anything. Just one line of code, sorry, two line of code. You just need to type down what you want, and you can just access everything from the terminal itself. Web scraping using Beautiful Soup. Yeah, so basically, what's web scraping? So you must be guessing I've been using the term web scraping, but what is web scraping? So basically, web scraping is, let's suppose, let me give an example. So yeah, so let's suppose I want to extract the information from Flipkart. So suppose in Flipkart, I have gone to like sports arena. So in sports arena, they will be showing me jerseys, they can be showing me football, they can be showing me cricket bats, or like any random stuffs which comes under the tech um, sports. So you want to maintain this information and you want to derive some result. Like suppose in every item, like when you open Flipkart, you will be seeing box for every kind of item, right? So that's complete. That's written in HTML or React or any other front-end languages. So what Beautiful Soup does it extracts the information and then converts the same information into human readable form. Because even like suppose you give me tasks of like suppose Rahul, do one thing, give me the latest information about sports category in Flipkart and give me the best result of the most trending sports item currently, right? So I scrape the thing from the internet and I give you the HTML file. Will you understand anything at the beginning? No, right? Because everything will be like HTML tags, everything, it will be shuffled up. It will be very hard to understand. So what Beautiful Soup does it beautifies the output of that particular image and it gives us a human readable form. So that's the name, Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is using web scraping to like beautify the what we have scraped from the internet and use it for our own use. So yeah, so what's the use of web script? It can be used to like draw analytics, like which is the trending topic for a particular topic, for trending item for a particular topic, or which is the most expensive item for a particular topic. Because when we'll be scraping the data for every item, let's suppose for a football, the ratings will be associated with the particular football. Also, price will be associated with a particular football, number of players and things like that. So it has a very wide use of web scraping. So just going brief, there's the basic use of web scraping. And now what's Selenium? Selenium is basically a web automation tool. So what's web automation, right? So let me give you an example, like what's web automation and what's testing. So suppose you have designed a website, right? And you want to test that every functionality is working according to what you have thought or what's in your PRS. So what's PRS is basically a document looking under which you will be designing the whole thing. That is the planning document, if I want to say in easy terms, right? So what Selenium will do, it will check, will of course will be adding some commands, will be adding how to like check the thing. So what Selenium will do, it will test whether that particular object is reacting or like is giving us the desired output of what we have like desired. So let's suppose I have designed a web page, right? So when there is a form, so let's suppose I am talking about Google, that will be a better example. So when you click on, like suppose it is taking your information and there's a field such as gender. So when you click the dialog box of gender, chart will go down, right? Male, female, and like other gender. So you want to test that whether that functionality is working or not. I'm just giving you a simple example. Selenium is used for very complex stuffs and it is also used for easy stuffs as well. So there's one thing that you are checking for gender. Let's suppose in that form you have 29 fields. So obviously you won't be going through all the 29 fields all by yourself, because in a website there can be more than one pages as well. So what you will instruct Selenium is Selenium, this is the tag for gender, this is the tag for other fields. Let me know if I click there in gender whether the list down is coming or not. So that's automation. So what's automation? Basically you're automating the process which is not done by human. So that's automation. What automation does is it reduces human labor, it reduces time, because by the time you will be completing one entry check, that is whether gender field is working properly or not, Selenium will be done doing all the web pages of the whole complete website. So yeah, that's where Selenium is used. And now talking about word cloud library. So basically, you must have seen that there are some pictures like suppose you have entered a number of names and there is a cloud for it where all the names are like designed and displayed, like Rahul, then Mira, Nitya, and stuff like that. So that's word cloud library. It's a bit not so complex topic, but yeah. So yeah, so just one thing I want to like note out. Okay, for any topic, like suppose introduction to Python, intro Python strings, conditional in Python, basic data structure in Python. So that won't be done any, like we won't be doing completely PPT. Firstly, we'll be guiding you the stuffs from PPTs, that this is the theory for it, like strings are this, strings are defined as this, but we'll be focusing more on hands-on experience because that's what you have of this course for. You want to be experienced in that field so that you can apply it for yourself, right? So for everything there will be hands-on sessions, and for every course there will be projects as well. So when we'll be completing this course for Python basics or for Python advanced, you'll be having handy some hands-on experience, and also you'll be having hands-on projects as well, so that you can even put that in your resume as well. And also when interviewer asks you that what you have done and how you have done, you can easily explain to them, these are the things I have done and this is the way I've done it. So yeah, that's the main thing of our course. We are focusing more on your developmental skills, more on your implemental skills, rather than just like teaching you the theory and yeah, that's over. No, that's not the case. It's a complete balanced course. So we'll be teaching you the theory first because you need to have a foundation, right? So even if we teach you just the implementation, that won't work, because if somebody asks you that how is this working, or like how is this possible and what is this, you won't be able to answer. So that will be very shameful for you and for ourselves as well, because our students are not successful in saying this simple or this particular answer. So we'll be teaching you, we'll be training you in every good way possible, and it will be full of hands-on experience from projects to like daily sessions, and also we'll be having doubt clearing sessions. And you guys might be have added to a Slack channel where you can even ask your doubt 24/7. We have a team of 4, so whosoever is online at a particular period of time will be answering to your questions as well. So don't hesitate to ask any questions, or like don't hesitate to ask anything which is like related to Python, or you think that that's not being covered in this course, because we have designed this course very meticulously and we have designed this course very scientifically. Right. So we'll be covering everything that you must be knowing in order to like excel in Python. So as I said in beginning, that if you like take a course or like learn Python, start learning Python in 30 days, you'll be an expert by 30 days. That's my guarantee. And yeah, so development, last thing is development projects in Python using Flux. So Flux is basically a micro web service. Like you must be heard of servers, right? Servers, clients, and stuff like that. So what server does, it hosts a web page or it hosts a particular services. So when you are doing the same thing because let's suppose you want to design a web page, you need to host it somewhere, right? In a server, right? So firstly, you won't be directly putting that web page into uh, online web server, because even if you do so, it will completely create chaos and the developmental time and latency will go up. You want to reduce it, right? So you will be firstly doing it in your own system, right? So when you are done with doing it in your own system, then you will be deploying the same in the cloud services. So that's where development in Python using Flux. So Flux is basically a framework which will handle all the backend work for the website you are building. So it will cover like creating a form page, creating a managing a database, then managing web pages for a particular website. So yeah, that's the thing for Python Advanced. So now, wait, just hold. I missed something. Yeah. So prerequisites for the course, nothing. literally nothing. You just don't need to know anything from before, because we'll be going from the very basics to a very advanced level, which is very designed in a scientific way. So yeah, nothing, literally nothing, but knowing English would help because it's very analogous to English. So like don't use some Shakespearean complex word. No, that won't work. Of course, everything is simple. Yeah, and that's the main thing here. Strong ability to learn and explore new things. Because Python as a language is so vast that it's not possible for any course in this world to cover everything that is possible in Python. So you must be having the strong ability to learn and explore new things so that you explore by yourself, and when the next day or the next class comes over, you'll be asking us questions for which we'll be answering you the same. Right. So you must have the strong ability to learn and explore new things, because Python is a very interesting language. So when you start coding in Python, you like your hands from other languages will go off. Because let me tell you, I have been coding from class 10, and like I have been coding to like I have started Python from first year of my college. So I've coded for like 3 years in C++, and I was like pretty good at it. I did competitive coding and stuff. But now Python, working on Python has like reduced my work, reduced my all the labor and stuff in such a manner that I am redundant to use C++ as of now, because the same thing which requires 15 minutes of my time to do in C++, I can do the same thing within 2 minutes in Python. So I would have wasted my time in doing the same thing in any other languages or any other stuff when I know Python. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, course outcome. So what you will be achieving after this course. So yeah, as I said, we have scientifically designed all the topics that we'll be covering in this course. So the first point is a detailed and methodological approach of learning Python. So you will be learning Python in such a way that every concept of your Python, which is generally used, not that exceptional ones, means we have covered all the topics that you must be knowing in order to master Python. So that's the thing. You can use Python for competitive coding in any platform. Like if you use competitive coding using Python, of course, competitive Python is all about solving your problems in less number of time, right? So Python comes in handy and gives you an upper hand over other languages as of now. Because suppose you want to search for an element in any other language, so you have to write minimum 3 lines of code, but that's not a case of Python. You can just do the same in a single line. Data science. So what's data science? So data science is basically it's a very large field. So web scraping, then machine learning, the buzzwords. Machine learning, deep learning, neural processing, neural network processing, then natural language processing, all comes under data science. So it's the science of data and how you reproduce or produce it. Automation, as I've said, Selenium. Web scraping, development, and whatnot. Like if you are using a programming languages, you will be planning to do things from anything from here, right? So everything is possible using Python. So you don't need to even learn any other programming language to do the same stuff. So suppose you have learned React.js, JavaScript for um, web development, but if you want to do something for machine learning, then you have to learn either Python or R. Or suppose you have to do something of automation, then you have to learn Java or Python as well. So Python is literally everywhere. So if you learn Python, you can like literally use it anywhere. There is no foundation as such that Python, this field is not been covered by Python. Every field till now has been covered by Python. Of course, there might be some field I must be not knowing of, but the majority of the fields in the industry is being covered by Python. Use efficient and modular ways of coding. Obviously, we won't be teaching you that this is the code for this problem. You will be using this code for this problem. You will be using that code. We'll be teaching you how to efficiently use the codes and how to like modular ways of coding so that it looks beautiful for me. Because let's suppose you are writing a code and you are working on a theme, and the team members aren't getting anything of what you have coded, and they are asking you that, dude, what's the thing that you have written? I have no understanding what you have done. So that's a waste of time, right? Already you have done the same thing, then you are explaining him what you have done. So we'll be teaching you how to like efficiently use variable names, or like how to use efficient methods, so that the debugging power of you and the time becomes less as well. Yeah. Also, these courses will give you plenty of experience, and also working on live projects, which will make you industry ready to work on any projects related to Python. As I've emphasized, we will be working on live projects. There will be no thing as such that I'll ask you that this is your task for today, right? For I'm talking about projects, I'm not talking about assignment or any homework. So when I'm talking about assignment project, that will be done in the class itself. So suppose I've given you a project at XYZ. Suppose your name is XYZ. Design a program like Snake program, like the ladder and snake program. I'm just giving a random example, like ladder and snake program in Python using object-oriented programming. So obviously that will be done in the live session. So if you have doubts, if you have any blockage, or like if you are struggling somewhere, you can directly ask us in the session itself. So currently our session is going on Cisco, right? So you can just share a screen in Cisco, and we'll be going through what's your problem and where is the thing that you are getting blocked. Of course, we'll be teaching you in the beginning that what you will be doing, how you will be doing, but then we'll ask you to do the things so that at least you have a better understanding that how things work. Because spoon feeding doesn't work, right? It doesn't work for every case. So we want you to like work on yourself on the projects. Of course, we'll be guiding you from A to Z. Don't worry that Rahul has given me the project and I have to do it. But no, that's not the case. We will be discussing the solutions. We'll be like giving every individual attention to everyone who enrolls in our course. And next point is contribute to the open source community. That's my favorite thing. We have heard across competitions like, sorry, not competition, contests like Google Summer of Code, or like Major League Hacking, or like all the other, like now recently Hacktober is coming, also Girls Club Summer of Code. So what it does, it allows you to contribute to the open source. So what's open source? Suppose let me give an example. Suppose you want to design code so that you can download the video from YouTube. It already exists. I'm just giving an example. So let's suppose downloading video from YouTube doesn't exist from a particular program. We have ideas as well, but you want to run it from your command line, right? So you have designed a software or a package, and you have put it into the Python community PyP, as we can say, Python index profile. So you have already done the same for yourself. So suppose you have written a code which will help you to download the same from YouTube, and you want other people as well to avail the same system. So what you will do, you will put the code in an open source environment. Like any like there are stuffs I'll not talk about now because it will be confusing, I understand. So it will be accessible to everyone which is who have Python enabled in the system. So basically, let's suppose let's talk about TensorFlow. So what's TensorFlow? It's a module, or we can say library, for which is using deep learning and stuff. So I'll be talking. I won't be talking about deep learning. That will be taken care by the ML team. So basically, talking about TensorFlow, there is an object detection API. So suppose you want to categorize that whether a particular picture is a picture of a cat or picture of a dog. Okay, so you have used a library from TensorFlow, then you have used a mobile, or you have used any other saved images in your computer, and you have checked whether the particular image is a cat or a dog. Let's suppose the program is giving a very better example, or the program is giving poor results and you want to improve it. No problem. Just you need to check out where the program is lacking, because every code of the same will be available in the internet. You can change the code by yourself. Of course, you need approval to change the code. You can change your code in your part and you can push it. So basically, there's a specialty of open source community. It allows you to grow. It allows you to like connect new people. It allows you to like create new things and improve the already existing ones. So that's a specialty of open source community. So now, yeah. So after this course, you can be like anything. You can pursue your career as a data scientist, machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer, then chatbot engineer. Everything comes under data scientist. I'm just categorizing everything under a single block. So yeah, that's an example of oops, categorizing everything under a single block. Yeah, fun example. Lol. So yeah, next thing, a web developer. By learning Python, you can be a web developer. By learning Python, you can be an automation tester, as I said, the example of Selenium and whatnot. We are here to guide you all. So you don't need to worry for anything. You don't need to worry for any blockage. You don't need to worry for like, oh my God, what he has taught, I have not understood a single thing. Don't worry. We'll be giving single attention to everyone who has enrolled to our course, and we'll be guiding you from A to Z, from day 0 to day last. And of course, even if you have completed after you have completed the course, we'll be staying in contact and we'll be helping you throughout. So yeah, that's the specialty of our course, and that's all. That's the like a demo session for our Python course. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you from my side. So now if you guys have any doubt or like anything you want to include, you can just ping in or you can unmute yourself and can ask me. Like you guys are the first batch of what we are planning to do. So even if you guys suggest that I think this must be included here, or like this, I want to learn it by this way, we'll be taking everything into account. We'll be considering everything, then we'll be working on it, because our priority is you. Our priority is not learning a bunch of people. Our priority is to excel the students who have enrolled for us, and that they will be set as an example of what our group is like trying to achieve. So that's all. So yeah, I am open to questions, so you can type it in the chat box. Okay, I'll be taking questions one by one. Yeah, C++ is the fastest language. So yeah, the question has been asked by Muhammad Amir. Yeah, see, I am not talking about the compile time, right? I am talking about the overall time. So let's suppose you have coded a particular for a particular piece of problem, you have coded in Python, and the same you have coded in C++. So C++, as you know, is a compiled language, and it has no support for dynamic typing or strongly type. So everything is already predefined and it uses text. So I'm just using some complex example here. Sorry for that. Just remember that C++ is a compiled language. So basically, what's compiled language? It compiles the whole code in a single go. But in case of Python, it is an interpreted language. So it compiles the code line by line. So obviously, if you do a thing by a whole and you are doing a thing line by line, then obviously the thing that you're doing line by line will take much time. But if you talk about the overall thing, then obviously Python will take less time. Obviously, talking about runtime, Python, C++ is much faster as it is a low-level language, but C++ doesn't have all the functionality of Python. So that's where Python beats off C++. And that's why we use Python for our tasks. So yeah, C++ is faster in case of runtime, but if you talk about overall, then that's obviously Python. So next question is by Armal. What should we what we should download Anaconda? Yeah, don't worry. For the installations, we will be like guiding you what are the things that you need to install and what are the platforms we'll be doing. It's not necessary because look, throughout the whole course we'll be using something uniform, right? We won't be changing, like let's do the first 5 days in Anaconda, let's do the second 5 days in PyCharm, and the third and the last days in Jupyter. So of course we'll be maintaining a single format, but obviously we'll be guiding you all the platforms that possible, like all the ideas, like how to do it in Jupyter, like how to do it in PyCharm, how to do it in VS Code and stuff like that. We'll be guiding you. So don't worry about installations and software. We'll be guiding you everything. But I just showed you that what are the possible platform in which you can do the thing. So Akshita Sharma, yeah, same question. What we should download PyCharm or Anaconda? We'll guide you. Don't worry. Obviously, we'll be like asking you guys as well what will be your preferences, and obviously our team will decide which will be the better for us as well to teach you guys. So yeah, that's the thing. Um, Next question. When is the course starting? Is it a paid course? So if so, please provide details. All right. Can Gulfscript, Team Gulfscript, can you take this question, the last one, which has been asked by Aruna? I think that will be better. Hello. Okay. I think there must be some problem. So as we planned, the course is starting from 1st of October. Yeah, it is a paid course. And regarding the details, look, the courses will start from 1st October. Like we have tentatively set the date as end October, all the courses, and it's a paid course. So basically, there are different slabs of payment methods, payment money, and amount of course that will be available. So for a particular slab of um, category of money, then you will be availing this much number of courses, and it can be anything from Python basics to Python advanced. It can be ML, it can be React, or anything. So within that particular bucket, you can select the courses that you are willing to. But let me tell you, like if you are willing to go for Python basics, then it will be better if you also go for Python advanced, because it is an integrated course. So if you complete the whole thing, then I think it will give you a complete package of what Python is, and it will at least make you so much proficient in Python that you can directly sit for interviews and like answer all the questions. Yeah, and any more questions from you guys? And I was thinking of giving you a hands-on session as well. Aruna, is your question clear? Like, if yes, can you like type that in the chat box itself? Yeah, okay, sure, thank you. So yeah, so just hold on. I'll give you an hands-on of like Python. Just hold on. Yeah, Aruna, no problem. That's my pleasure. Just hold on. Just opening my IDE. Then I'll show you like some basics of how Python is different from other languages. And and also there is no restriction here, so you guys can unmute yourself and can speak. So are you guys able to unmute yourself? Can you confirm? Like if there's anything you want to interact with me, or like if there's anything you just want to ask me or talk to me, you can just unmute yourself and can ask. There is no foundation as such that I'll be the one that will be speaking the whole time. Okay. Uh, okay. Can you guys confirm if my screen is visible? I can't see the chat now, so I think it will be better if somebody opens his or her mic and let me know. Yeah, sure. Okay, sure. So basically, just hold on. Yeah. So I'm using Colab as an environment to show you the demo of Jupyter Notebook. So basically, what is Colab? So basically, I was talking. Is my screen visible, Sohail? Just hold on. Okay, just let me reshare it.
It's visible.
Okay, I think there's some problem for Farooq. Sorry, yeah, Farooq. Farooq, let me know if it is visible the next time I share it, right? I'm sharing it. Is it visible, Farooq, for you and for others as well? Yeah, okay, sure. Thank you. So basically, I'll be now I am using Colab. So don't worry what is Colab. Just it's a very like I was talking about Jupyter, right? So Jupyter, when you do the thing, that will be hosted in your own computer. So that will be completely offline. But what Colab does is, as you can see, colab.research.google.com. So basically, it is hosted in the server, and also Colab has the functionality that you can use it in your own system, and also you can use deployed cloud system. So why I'm emphasizing on Colab, let's suppose somebody has Windows 7, right? Somebody has Windows 7 and he has 2 GB RAM. So when you're coding or like doing any stuffs related to coding, or like you are developing a model or developing something, I'm not using Colab for development. I'm just giving you an example. So you need GPUs, right? You need RAMs, you need CPUs. So everything will be given by Google servers to you. So you don't have to worry for anything. Just anything that is going from you is your internet. But in our course, we won't be using Colab because that's not our point. Just for the in demo, I am using Colab as a substitute to what Jupyter Notebook is. But let me give an example of how Jupyter Notebook look like. So basically, just hold on. So for to open Jupyter Notebook, just you need to type out JUP notebook in a terminal. Then it will get hosted in your own system, and it will treat your system as a server. Then it will host it. So yeah, that's getting hosted. Yeah. So just taking some time. So yeah, there's the thing. So this is Jupyter Notebook, which is hosted in my system, and this is Colab environment, which is hosted in Google servers. So currently I have a RAM of 8 GB, and I am using i5 processor. But if you check in the case of Google environment, look here, the RAM given to me is 12.72 GB, and I have been given a disk space of 107.77 GB, which is much better and efficient as compared to my system, because more is the processing power, more faster my things will work out, right? So this is hold on. Just hold on. So yeah, so we'll be currently I'll be showing you the demo in Colab. So there's no such difference as such, just the interface. Everything is just ditto. So yeah, I was talking about dynamically type, right? So let's suppose you are writing a program where you want to find the sum of a number. So as I said, in Python, you can initialize the same using the single line. So let's suppose I want to initialize the value of value of x as 7 and value of y as 9, and I want to print it, right? So I have executed it. So the value of 7 currently, so let me show you, is why. So that's the beauty of Jupyter Notebook. So what it does, see, now I've written x comma y is equal to 7 comma 9, right? And to find out the value of x, I am just using another cell to find out the value of x, and to find the value of y, I am just using another cell. And even if I want to like know the values in a single cell, then what I'll be doing, I'll be just putting comma and x plus y. It'll give me first, it'll give me a value of x, it'll give me the value of y, and it will give me the value of x plus y. So look, and here's the answer. So 7, 9, 16, which is not possible in case of other languages. And also it is not possible in Python if you're using an IDE or any code editor. So let me give an example of why this is not possible in code editor. Just hold on. Just hold on. Okay. So I am using VS Code as my code editor for this problem. I'll show you that why I can like individually print out values for such. So currently I'm in my text editor. So let me comment this out. So the same thing I'm doing. I'm writing x comma y is equal to 7 comma 9. Suppose I want to know the value of x, right, in the middle of the program. So if I want to know the value of x, then I need to execute the whole program now, right? I have no system as such to know the value of x differently or separately. So that's the like difference between working on a text editor or an IDE. In IDE, it will be given because IDE has a special functionality that it will give you a chart of the variables you have used and the value of the variables that is currently being stored by the variable. So that's not possible in case of a text editor. So that's why we use and Jupyter Notebook. Now let me give an example. So somebody was asking me about that C++ is faster than Python. So just give me an example. Suppose I have a string where I have written my name, and okay, and suppose I want to divide the string into 2. So what I'll do, I'll just print s. I'll be slicing the thing. Then the len of s. Yeah, I'll be talking this lately. And the same thing for here itself. I'll be explaining you what it does and what does it mean. So see, I have a string which is s, right? So if I print s, it will give me the result output. And if I use this, it will give me the whole string as well. So in case of Python or in case of other languages, suppose you have a string and you have written s1, it will give you 1. s2, it will give you the position of 2, that is 0, 1, 2. Same is the case with Python. But you want to separate the string, like you want to create a substring. Then you have to create any other variable, then you have to store there, or like you have to slice it using like vectors and using iterators. The thing in Python is very simple. Suppose I want to divide my name into half, right? So what I'll do, len is a inbuilt function. It will take the length of s and divide it by 2. And this operator is, let me show you what it does. Suppose I have 4 divided by 2. My answer will be 2.0. But if I do 4 double divided by 2, it will give an integer. So as we know, indexing supports only integer values, so I've used this. So now if I print this, it will print my name into 2. So RAHUL. So that's the simplicity and beauty of Python, which is not possible in case of other languages, because in order to do the same in another language, maybe the compile time might be faster, but in order to do this thing, you require more like thinking and how you'll proceed and the time to code it, and so the overall time taken by Python is very less in this case. So let me give you another example. Suppose you have an array where you have plenty of numbers 4, 5, 7, 2, 1, 6, right? So in this array, let me 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a typical interview question. So you have the interviewer asks that divide the array into two parts and give me the result and give me and sort the array, the first half as ascending and the second half as descending. So we'll be taking the same thing here. We'll be dividing the array into half, right? So I'll just change the variable name. I'll be dividing the array into half. Then what I'll do, I'll just sort it. Sorry, my question was the first part I'll be sorting it as sorting is as ascending, and the later part I'll be sorting is as descending. So in order to do so, I'll be showing a trick that x plus, yeah. So this will sort the array, first array, and this will sort the second. Let me just sort it. I think that will be better. So there's some differences between sort and sorted. I'll be taking that account in our courses. Sorted. Okay, so now I have sorted this. 1 second. So, is my screen visible? I think my screen froze. Can anybody confirm?
It's visible, sir.
Okay. Don't call me sir. You can just call me by my name. There's no problem in such. Just hold on. I think there's a problem with my system. Okay. Can you see my mouse moving around? Anyone? Hello. Okay, I need to see the chat, I guess. Yeah, I think it's visible. Yeah, I can see it from mobile. Yeah. So sorted, and I'll just reverse equal to true. So look, it has given me the array, right? Where I have sorted this part is ascending order 2, 4, 5, and the later part I have sorted is a descending order 6, 8, 6, 1. So it's just one of the interview questions where you can solve the whole thing only just using a single line of code, right? If you are using C++ or any other programming language, then what will do? You will divide the array, you will store the array in this part, and then you will run another for loop for the sorting part. Then for the array, sorry, ascending order. Then for this part, you will run another for loop which is sorted in descending order. But look, that's the beauty of Python. You just did it in the single line. And now let me give an example. So I was talking about dynamically type, right? So x equal to Rahul, and I will print x. So what's the value? Just let me type one more time. Type. So type will give you the data type of the variable. So look, the value is Rahul, and the class is str. So let me use another. So look, x equal to 7. Right. So this is a string, and this is an integer. This is an list or array. Don't get confused by that. So look, I have used the same variable name across all the thing, and I am getting different results for each time. Rahul class str 7 int, the list, and it is a list. But is it possible in other languages? I don't think so. That's not possible, because in, like, suppose you are writing a code in C++, then firstly the first thing that you do is initializing its data type. So int x, right? Then x is equal to 7. Then you write cout x, right? But oh, sorry, I just write by error. But if you write, if you this is a C++ code, this is not a Python code, just remember. So now if I use the same variable as Rahul, it will give you an error, right? And there's the beauty of Python here. So you can use the same variable to store different types of data in different and like do operations on it. So yeah, that were the things that I wanted to talk about. And do you guys want me to show anything like cool stuffs using Python? Then I can show you a lot. So let's talk about what you can do with Python. So I guess you guys have been knowing about YouTube recommendation system, Google search engine, and then movie recommendation system, then chatbots, then all the every intelligent stuff that comes under AI. So when I talk about Jarvis, so you all must be knowing about Iron Man, right? That intelligent bot that helps Jarvis every time. Sorry, Iron Man every time, Jarvis. That's an implementation of Python. So everywhere where you see AI implementation, AI, anything related to artificial intelligence, it is 99 times Python. It's very rare that it will be a R code, but it's always Python. And then that's the stronghold of Python, that every artificial intelligence thing you are doing is related to Python. And now Python is taking over competitive programming as well, because you are the one sacrifice you're making with using Python in competitive programming is the space complexity and the time complexity. But remember, you are like solving the problems in a very faster rate. Your problems might not run faster as compared to other low-level languages, but you are using very less time to complete the problems. So in order to, like, suppose you want to sort an array in C++. So what we'll do, I have a vector. So vector dot sort, then you have to write v dot begin, v dot end. I'm just giving a generic example. And suppose you want to sort it grid in a ascending order. So greater, then you will be putting int, then strips like that. But when you are using Python, suppose I have a list X, right? I have this list. I'll just use sort, and if I want to use it ascending, then I'll make it true, right? And if I don't want to, like, I want descending order, then I'll make it false. So there's the thing about Python. So look, to do the same thing, I'm using less effort. So yeah, that's the beauty of Python. And yeah, and if I want to talk about more, then Selenium, all the web scraping things, then natural language processing, machine learning, deep learning, everything is possible using Python. So there is no field research in computer science or in development or anything which is not possible by Python. Python is such a strong language. Like, if you have learned it, then you can apply it anywhere. So yeah, that's the thing. So that's my part of like hands-on, not hands-on session actually, like how Python is different from other languages and why you should opt for this course. So you guys have any doubt, or like we can have an interactive session now? You can just type it in the chat box itself. I'll just interact with few of you guys of what are your needs and things. Okay, since I have no reply, I'll be like talking to you individually. Okay, so Ankit, no, I'll not take individual names. So are you guys like familiar with any programming language? I think that will help us to like design the course in a much better way. Like for C++, Java, anything. Like, are you guys familiar with any programming language before, or like you are newbie to programming?
I think I am familiar with some of the languages.
Okay. Then that's good. I think most of the people, I think, because they're not replying, that don't know, are not familiar with the languages. And how many of you guys are from technical background? Like all of you, or like is somebody from non-technical background?
I am from a technical background.
Okay, and rest of you, Akshita, Ankita, I can
Also
see you.
from technical background.
Oh, okay. Then I must be assuming that all of you are from technical background. Okay, so yeah. And is there anything that you want us to improve or anything that you want us to like add on so that it will be a better experience for you and as well as us? Because the course is molded just to improve you, not for our thing. So if you have any improvement for us or any feedback, then I think that will be very beneficial for us in designing the course. Is there anything that you want to say right now?
So, will you teach us about the automation
Okay.
using Python?
Yeah, yeah. We will surely teach you automation using Python, but that will be covered in the advanced course. Because in the basics course, just we have designed in such a way that you will get familiar to all the types, data types, all the operators, and things like which will make at least make you like comfortable working with Python and at least know all the things that are possible with it. But regarding the advanced stuffs, which is automation, development, the object detection, that will be done in the advanced course. And yeah, that's the thing. And is there anything else from you guys as well? And just remember, just don't always let me speak. It's all of us platform. So I want all of you to speaking as well and like interact with me. And because we want a better experience from you as well as my side, right? So yeah. So anything from you guys except from like the course details? Yeah. Was somebody speaking something? Okay. Um, so yeah, that's the end of our session. I think you guys must have enjoyed it, and I think you guys are eager to learn more from us because like I'm a fourth year student and I'm already placed in a company which is working with Python. So I have experience, I have work experience of like 6 months working with Python, and I know how the industry works with Python. And all my team members, um, three of them are from fourth year, and one is from third year. And the one from third year, she has done works and researches in Python from Google, and all my fourth year colleagues are also experienced much with Python in real life world. So we guys who want to inculcate the real world experience to you guys as well, and like as I said, after the end of this course, you guys will be industry ready. So yeah, it was nice interacting with you, and that's the end to our session of Python demo course. So if you have any doubts, you can just mail us. And yeah, anything? Um, did I interrupt anyone? Okay, never mind. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions on a later part, you can just mail us. We'll be taking every question into detail and we'll be taking everything into account because this course is designed for you guys. And I hope you guys learn a lot from it and like excel in your career. So thank you. That's my part. And yeah, good night. Have a wonderful week again. Thank you.